Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure to be here this afternoon as we are here to launch the PPV Driver Train, a training application for public transportation operators. And my name is Petra Keane-Williams. I'm Acting General Manager of Human Resource and Administration at the Transport Authority. Let me introduce some very special persons who have joined us for the launch this afternoon. Help me to acknowledge the Minister of Transport and Mining, Honorable Robert Montague, CDMP. Minister, can you just stand for us? Also help me to acknowledge Honorable J.C. Hutchinson, Minister of State in the Ministry of Transport and Mining. The training application would not be a reality without a tripartite agreement. Help me to welcome Mr. Michael Bairu, who is deputizing for the Managing Director of the Transport Authority. He's the General Manager of Finance and Planning. BCIC has been a great partner for public transportation development, and we're joined this afternoon by none other than Mr. Peter Levy, who is the Managing Director of BCIC. Could you welcome him also? Our technology partner has been like family at the Transport Authority. He and his team have been working with us assiduously over the past 2 years to make today a reality. Could you help me to acknowledge Mr. Gordon Swaby, co-founder of Edufocal. Also joining us today, we have Bishop Flavio Alves from the Universal Church, our neighbor in the community of Maxwell Avenue. Could you stand, Bishop? The transportation sector is a very critical sector, and we have with us today a number of representatives from the transportation sector. Help me to acknowledge Mr. Raymond Bynes, Mr. Edgerton Newman from TODS, Mr. Alan Blair from Encota, Cecil Thomas from the JUTC, our government transport provider. We also have other representatives of the Transport Authority, the Ministry of Transport and Mining, BCIC, and Edufocal. And I won't be able to call everyone by name today, but just to say thank you for joining us this afternoon. At this time, we want to start in our usual fashion by offering a word of prayer. So we invite Bishop Flavio Alves from the Universal Church to come at this time.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Good to see you again, Minister Robert. Thank you very much for being here. Every day on the TV, I pray for Jamaica. Whether on CVM or TVJ, we are praying for Jamaica. And before I make the prayer, I would like to say that we have many pastors, that they were pastors here in Jamaica, something like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And when they come back to Jamaica from the airport, the highways, wherever they go, they say, this is a new Jamaica. This is not Jamaica that I left 10 years ago. And they explain to me how was the road, how was this, how was that, and how it has improved. And with God's grace, we are going to improve even more. I would like to read the words of the Lord Jesus, the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 9. These words of Jesus, I don't think anybody needs to open the Bible, because he says, in this manner, therefore, pray, our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. I would like to ask everybody to stand just for a short prayer. And as I said, every day we make this prayer for Jamaica on the TV and in our church. In all our churches, we pray for our government authorities. By the way, the book of Romans 13 says that they have to be blessed. The government authority, whether minister, members of parliament, and every single authority must be blessed. If you can close your eyes, please. Our Lord and our Father, in the name of your Son Jesus, we thank you for this opportunity to gather together, my Father, here in this place for the benefit and improve of Jamaica, my God. We pray that everything that will be done in this meeting, my God, be blessed and anointed by you. And this train, this app, and everything that is being done by this ministry, be anointed by you, my God. And we ask you that you touch your hands and rebuke every kind of evil, every kind of spirit of delay. In the name of Jesus, get out, and that you bless, my Father, from the minister to the most young worker in this ministry, so that, my God, Jamaica may improve more and more in the name of Jesus. And you who believe, you say, Amen. Thank you very much. You may take a seat.
Thank you, Bishop Alves. We do appreciate the prayers that are going up for the nation of Jamaica. And had it not been for the prayers, perhaps we would not be in such a better place today. At this time, we want to invite Mr. Michael Byru, General Manager of Finance and Planning, to bring welcome and opening remarks on behalf of our Managing Director, Mr. Willard Hilton, who unfortunately was not able to join us today. Could you welcome Mr. Byru as he comes?
Madam Masters of Ceremonies, Ms. Petra Keane Williams, Honorable Minister Robert Montague, CDMP, Minister in the Transport and Mining Ministry, Honorable J.C. Hutchinson, Minister of State in the Ministry of Transport and Mining, Bishop Flavio Alves from the Universal Church, Mr. Gordon Swaby from Edufocal, Mr. Peter Levy from British Caribbean Insurance. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I also want to welcome those from the media, those from the Ministry of Transport and Mining, and also from the Transport Authority, and any other well-wishers or friends that are visiting for this particular occasion. It is indeed a pleasure to be here for the launch of this driver train app. This is that technology is now where we are at. And almost anything we are doing now, we have to use technology. So it's a tremendous partnership between the Transport Authority, Edufocal, and BCIC to put together this training app. What we would envisage is that I am sure that the drivers who will be using this app would be pleased, because instead of coming to the Transport Authority to sit down for half an hour to do attest, they can now do this in the comfort zone of their own, whatever time they choose to sit and do, because they have the app, can be downloaded on their phone, and they can do it in their own convenient time. So we have to be moving with technology. And I am sure that with this training, we should be seeing some better driving on the road. Because we get complaints every day about the indiscipline in the PPV sector, about the drivers, and how the taxis are moving about on the road. And I'm sure with this training, we are expecting to see some improvement in the drivers' behavior on the road. So it is really a pleasure, to have this app launched at this time. It has been long in coming for a while, but I'm sure the drivers will be grateful. And I'm sure Mr. Bynes is here also from the All Island Route Taxi Association will be pleased about this app. And we are just going to be encouraging the drivers, to use the app so that they can be better drivers on our road. As I said, technology is where we are heading now, and everything that we do, we realize that technology plays a part. And as the more technology improves, the more we are going to be using technology to advance our lives here in Jamaica and across the world. So today I just want to thank you for coming to this launch. And as we progress, we just want everyone to enjoy the day. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Baru. Indeed, technology is where things are going and where we all have to go. And had it not been for technology in this pandemic, we would not have been able to cope as we are doing now. And I'm sure persons would want to be doing better, but we are still coping, and we should be grateful for that. We have, as mentioned earlier, some very important partners without whom we would not be able to be at this place. And nothing happens before its time. And I guess this is our Christmas gift, right, Gordon? At this time, we want to welcome Gordon Swaby, who is the co-founder and chief executive officer at Edufocal, to come and bring some remarks. Could you welcome him?
MC, Petrokeen Williams, General Manager, Human Resource Management and Administration, Transport Authority. Honorable Robert Montague, CDMP, Minister of Transport and Mining, Minister J.C. Hutchinson, Mr. Michael Byru, General Manager, Finance and Planning, the Transport Authority, Mr. Peter Levy, Managing Director of BCIC, Mr. Raymond Bynes, President of the All Island Route Taxi Association, members of the media, other members of the audience, good afternoon. So, in 2018, Minister Montague lamented about the badge compliance rate at the Transport Authority. And here we are in 2021, mind you, at the end of 2021, but here we are in 2021, implementing a system that will allow PPV operators to learn at their own pace. Now, one would think that this is in response to the pandemic, but it was in November 2019, in this very room, that we had the launch ceremony for this app that is going to be rolled out in a couple of days. Minister Montague, in my opinion, had the foresight. I mean, he could not see the pandemic coming, but he had the foresight to understand that the way that we go about learning, whether in this space or any other space, it can't be the same. We have to think differently. We have to do things differently. Now, I'm sure all PPV operators can understand how burdensome it was to visit a TA location and sit for 30 minutes to an hour, even longer, to go through this learning and development process. We're now at a stage where the process is being modernized, and Edufocal is happy to be a partner in this initiative. We are happy to have the support of BCIC. We're happy to have the support of the Transport Authority and the Ministry of Transport by extension. I think that it is timely. I think that it is important. And ultimately, what we are trying to achieve is safety on our nation's roads. Now, in this same 2018 remark by the minister, he mentioned that only 30% of operators possess a Transport Authority badge. And it is our goal, as in Edufocal's goal, in partnership with the Transport Authority and other stakeholders, to move the compliance rate from 30% to, should I commit to a number? But it is our goal to get at least 80% compliance within 2 years. Right? That is our goal. Now, we believe at Edufocal that learning should be fun. And yes, driver safety is of utmost importance on the roads. But we want our drivers to feel good going through this learning process. So we have a lot of exciting initiatives coming up. BCIC, of course, is our first partner. But we have a number of other partners coming on board very, very soon, because we want to incentivize drivers to, learn in a way that is valuable, in a way that can help to push Jamaica forward and the entire industry forward. For a very long time, the PPV industry has been seen in a negative light, and I think that is changing. I think that things have changed significantly over the last 2 to 3 years. And I believe that this initiative in particular will have a strong positive impact in terms of how we move forward in Jamaica. So again, we're happy to be here. It has been a long time coming. And, this for me is a milestone day in really moving to transform the industry and have a positive impact. Thank you all for having me here today, and I'm looking forward to demoing the app a little later.
Thank you so much, Gordon. Now, public-private partnerships are critical to the development of the public transportation sector, because the government can't do it on our own. We can't do it by ourselves. And so that is why we were very happy when BCIC agreed to be the main sponsor for the development of this driving application. And I must say that BCIC has been partnering with the public transportation sector for several years. So we are happy to hear from Mr. Peter Levy, Managing Director of BCIC at this time. Can you welcome him, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Master of Ceremonies. Honorable Robert Montague, CDMP, Minister of Transport and Mining. Honorable J.C. Hutchinson, Minister of State in the Ministry of Transport and Mining. Mr. Michael Baru, General Manager of Finance and Planning of the Transport Authority. Bishop Flavio Alves. I was debating where in what order the bishop would come. I knew he couldn't come before the minister, but I wasn't sure if he should come before the Transport Authority. Render unto Caesar, as they say. Mr. Gordon Swaby, CEO and founder of Edufocal. Executives of the taxi associations. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And thank you for inviting me to share a few words. BCIC is excited and proud to be partnering with the Transport Authority and Edufocal in launching this innovative driver training app. It was 2018, Gordon, that we signed the 19, that we signed a tripartite agreement with those two entities. And BCIC is a company that wants to create excellence, not just for ourselves, but for our customers and our business partners, and indeed for our country. We were then, and we remain committed to this initiative that takes a major step forward today. it's a kind of, it's part of the human condition and human psychology that we get used to risks that we encounter every day, and they become mundane and unconscious. But the commuter who gets into a taxi or a bus puts their life and livelihood into the hands of that vehicle's driver. And that commuter implicitly trusts that the institutions that give those taxis and buses the ability to operate on the roads, the transport authority, the police, the insurance companies, to name just a few, have taken the necessary steps to minimize the risks and to make the experience of that commuter safe and efficient and even pleasant. BCIC is aware of and committed to that obligation. And that's what led us to innovate in 2016 with a 40% discount on premiums for taxi drivers who had a safe record. We know that money talks, so we created a monetary incentive for owners to recruit and employ safe drivers, and for the drivers themselves to drive safely. In 2021, we were the primary sponsors of the Blue Ribbon First Responders Initiative, partnering with TODS and the Transport Authority. This program has and will see the training and certification of 350 drivers in CPR, fire prevention, and other life-saving skills. That Safe Driver Discount, that First Responder Initiative, and now the PPV Driver Train are all part of what BCIC is doing to improve the lives of our customers, of all road users, and of the entire society. And we're delighted to have Edufocal as a partner. We've been big fans of Edufocal's innovation and ingenuity for almost 10 years. Edufocal uses technology in a way that gets students excited about learning, and that leads to greater engagement and better test results. We expect that applying this technology to driver train will create a training and licensing process that's more accessible, more engaging, and more effective than traditional methods. And finally, while we believe that we should all be prepared to look far and wide for solutions to our problems, we can't help but be proud that this solution comes about through a Jamaican government initiative sponsored by a Jamaican company, applying Jamaican innovation from a Jamaican tech company. I wish the Transport Authority and Edufocal every success with Driver Train, and I wish you all a safe and rewarding 2022. Thank you very much.
Now, we at the Transport Authority would like to give BCIC a bigger clap than that, because the amount of money BCIC has invested in the public transportation sector, not many private sector entities are willing to do so. So can you give them another round of applause, please? Our next speaker is a man that needs no introduction. Needless to say, what I will say about our minister is that he has a interest in seeing development, and particularly technological development. The minister has encouraged the Transport Authority in so many ways to embrace technology to improve public transportation across the nation of Jamaica. So, can you put your hands together and welcome none other than Honorable Robert Montague, CDMP, Minister of Transport and Mining.
Thank you very much, Ms. Petra. But before I do anything else, let me thank Sister Hemmings. As the good book says, Mr. Levy, whatever you are given to do, do it well. And Ms. Hemmings is our Senior Director of Sanitation for Podiums at the ministry. Come, Ms. Hemmings, come take a bow. You're doing well. The COVID-19 has spawned a new industry, sanitizing mics and podiums. Honorable J.C. Hutchinson, and let me publicly say, when I grow up, I want a shirt like that. My Minister of State, hard-working Minister of State, Ms. Petra Keane Williams, not Dawes this time, Mr. Levy and Mr. Gordon Swaby, other representatives of the BCIC, as well as Edufocal, other reps from the Transport Authority, Bishop, who has joined us from across the road. That looks like Mr. Mackenzie on the back. That's not ACP Mackenzie. Oh, no. Mr. Todds, Mr. Newman, and Mr. Encota, Brother Blair, the Route Taxi Association, Mr. Boyne, other representatives of the public passenger industry, Mr. Thumbs from JUTC, representatives from the Ministry of Transport and Mining, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good afternoon and happy holidays to you. I am very, very proud this afternoon and happy that we are at another launch. When I became minister in 2018, and I came with a 16-point plan, some persons wondered if any of the 16 points could have been implemented. And I am happy to say that all 16, if not yet implemented, is far advanced to be implemented. Because I was once told by my dear mother, if you don't have a plan, it means you plan to fail. And I was not in that, so I came with a 16-point plan. And I'm happy to say today that although we are not where I would want the industry to be, we are far better off than when we started in 2018. One of the items on my 16-point plan was the introduction of apps for the use of the public and people within the sector. And it raised a lot of eyebrows, but although I'm a countryman, I believe in technology and innovation. And I believe that this is what will make life easier for all of us in Jamaica. Last week, we were here with the TravelPal app, which is to put in the hands of the passenger a weapon, a means of increasing their safety, because you can input the license number of a motor vehicle to find out if this vehicle is licensed by the Transport Authority. The first time it is happening in Jamaica, and when I check with my colleagues in the Caribbean, it is the first time an app like this is being given to passengers who take public transport. Once you find out if a vehicle is licensed, it gives you the option, it gives you a choice, whether you travel with that vehicle or you don't travel with that vehicle. And then automatically the app will send, if you are in Papine going to Halfway Tree, you put where you are and you put where you're going, and the app will send your route, your location, and the information on the cab to 2 phone numbers that will be pre-programmed when you register for the app. So that if you don't turn up in Halfway Tree at a certain time, persons will know that something is wrong and they can alert the authorities. In addition, there is an SOS button on the app that once you push it, it pushes out your location. You can actually now send to other contacts in your phone your location, and they can actually monitor where you are. It is an app that's available in the App Store as well as in the Play Store. And I would like to use this opportunity, especially for those who are listening on Facebook and on YouTube, to immediately go to the Play Store and the App Store and download the TravelPal Jamaica app and encourage all your friends, relatives, neighbors to download the app, because each person's safety is their responsibility. We're about to sign off on an MOU with the Jamaica Constabulary Force so that once you press the SOS button, it will alert 119, and they in turn will now dispatch a vehicle, one of their motorized patrol vehicles, one closest to you, immediately to your location. we have to take the safety of each other seriously, but everybody has a personal responsibility to take their own safety as their top priority. So we can just give you the tool and you will have to use it. So we are encouraging persons. And today, we are now moving to have the training app launched. And I want to thank BCIC and Edufocal for the partnership, for the private-public partnership. And I want to laud that partnership, because when a government entity has an idea and we don't have the money, we can turn to the private sector member who is flushed with funds. And he didn't spend the money, he invested the money into the system. And then we then turn to a local entity to develop the app. That to me is the crowning moment, because we could have always gotten an app development company from anywhere in the world, but to have a homegrown entity to do it for us, knowing our conditions, knowing our culture, that to me is the kind of progress that we must support homegrown industry. And Gordon, I know you are doing a lot of work in the educational sector, but I want to praise you for the way you have worked with us in the transport sector to develop this training app so that the taximan, the conductor, the driver can stay in the privacy of their home, they can stay in the vehicle, they can go on their phone and on their tablet and learn the proper the do's and the don'ts, of proper driving. They can learn the road code. They learn how to start the vehicle, how to move off, how to adjust the rear view mirror, so that they can then take the test to get their badge and permit to be drivers in the industry. And I really want to congratulate you for taking a minister's idea and actually flushing it out so that today we can have this app made available to the approximately 82,000 drivers within the public and the commercial sector. So, ladies and gentlemen, our aim is that we must reduce road fatalities in Jamaica. And before I tell you a little bit about road safety, I must say that the whole program costs approximately $11 million, of which the Transport Authority paid 13 was the whole thing. And we paid 3, and BCIC paid the big balance. And I want a round of applause for them. Because this was not only writing the app. This was also, when they, Minister Hutchinson, when they took the first draft of the app to me, and they went through it, I told them that it wasn't culturally ready. And they had to go back in the field, and they came back, and I said to them, has anybody taken a taxi? Has anybody gone up to the bus park and sit down and hear and understand the ethos? What happens in a bus park, what happens on a taxi stand? And they took me on, Brother Boynes, and they went into the bus parks, not only in Kingston, but in rural Jamaica. And they took the taxi, and so the developers got a feeling of what the taxi operator feels on a day-to-day basis and get an understanding. Because it is one thing to stay on the outside and to look in, but actually to go in there. So they did a number of field trips. And I want to congratulate the developers for actually going out there, getting a feeling of the whole thing, speaking to the people who we are trying to bring on board. And today we have an app that is suitable, it is culturally suitable, and that our men and women in the industry can embrace because it has been Jamaicanized. And I really am proud and happy for that. But ladies and gentlemen, this app, it forms a part of a wider program that we have here at the ministry to treat with road safety. Because year after year after year, we hear of the road safety numbers, and we are encouraged to wear your seatbelt and to put on your helmet and to slow down and to not to text while you drive. But somehow that message is not getting through to our people, because year after year we have an increase in road fatalities. And Bishop, as much as you pray, because they says faith without works is dead, it's nothing. And therefore we will have faith that the fatalities will go down, but we also have to do the work that the fatalities will go down. And so I called my senior team at the ministry together, and I said, look, we have to do something different. You cannot be doing the same thing over and over and over and expect different results. So we have decided to change how we treat with road safety. So the development of a training app is one aspect within the wider picture. We have developed electronic tests before a person can get a learner's license. We do a road code test. So you have to pass that test, and God, it is done electronically. You get a tablet when you know going to the depot. You take the test. The questions are computer generated, so no two persons get the same questions. And the test is marked centrally. Computer, as you go along, the computer marks the test. It is free, so for 2 attempts. If after you fail 2 times and you're going back the 3rd time, you're going to have to pay. Because there's a limit where the taxpayer has to carry that burden. And we have seen some 82,000 persons have already taken that test. Some 72,000 persons have passed. Some 80% passed. So that we are feeling a little bit more comfortable that more and more Jamaicans are understanding the road code. We have also moved through the new ITA to register the driving schools that are all over the country, because everybody just pops up and put on a L and becomes a driving instructor. So we are registering them under the new ITA, and we have introduced as a pilot driving simulators in the yard test, so that it demonstrates that people have control over the vehicle before you put the examiner on the streets with them. We are moving to correct the fitness situation. Peter, I know you would like this part, because many times I've heard stories and allegations that persons get fitness, but I know none of my examiners are a part of this. Without carrying the vehicle to the depot, they just send the papers. But we know it happens in other jurisdictions. It don't happen in Jamaica. But so what we have decided to do to prove the naysayers wrong, Minister, is that we have geo-fenced a section on the depot, that if your car is not sensed in that section, the machines will not produce a fitness certificate. And for the newer cars with the black box, we can actually check the VIN number of the car electronically within that geofenced location. But, Minister, I have been getting some very disturbing reports. And I'm going to ask you to check on it for me, because we're hearing that there are persons within some of our depots who are now saying the machine is down and you're allowed a certain amount of handwritten fitness. And they are writing them up, stamping them with the examiner's stamp, but not signing them. And especially the cars that are seized, they produce these, not really bogus, but fraudulent fitness certificates to allow the cars to be released. Because most times, because the stamp is on it, you don't even check for the signature. And when they check the examiner, it is the first time the examiner is seeing these, because the signature is not on it. And I have indicated to the authorities that the practice must cease, and if anybody is found to be in breach, the full force of the law must be applied. But I know that the ITA is moving to investigate and treat with that, because there have been 473 persons who have died on our roads, which represents a 10% increase over last year. And what is sad is that of the 473 persons, 154 of these persons who have died on our roads, those accidents occurred when curfew is on, during the curfew hours. You ought not to be on the road. And the police and road safety unit has indicated that the amount of single car crashes have also increased. Because people feel safer and they think nobody else is on the road, so they speed more. They try all kind of tricks on the road. They can't control the vehicle, and you end up in fatalities. 33% of our fatalities have occurred after the curfew has started. Of the 473 fatalities on our roads, motorcycles account for 34% of those fatalities. And therefore, again, we want to urge the motorcyclists to wear their helmets. And I'm told that 60% of this 34% of this 155 motorcyclists dead, they had no helmets on. And therefore, in the new Road Traffic Act regulations that will be laid in January, one of the provisions is that those who sell a motorcycle must also provide a helmet to the purchaser of the motorcycle. Private drivers account for 20% of the road fatalities. Pedestrians, 20%. Passengers in private vehicles, 19% of those fatalities. And CMC, commercial drivers, 2%. And Peter, I want you to hear this. The public passenger vehicle industry, PPV, account for only 1% of the fatalities on our roads. Yet, the popular opinion is that the worst drivers you have are PPV drivers. But the facts don't support that. And I know I hear Miss Christine laugh, and she knows what I'm going to say next. My taxi and bus drivers are not the best in the world. I will be the first to admit. And maybe sometime Mr. Boyne and Mr. Newman and Mr. Blair, they may be the cause of some accidents when they cut off people and overtake bad, but they don't crash. So people are entitled to their own opinion, but you are certainly not entitled to your own facts. And the facts are, if you look at the fatalities, the drivers in the public passenger industry account for the smallest amount of fatalities on our roads. There is always, however, I see Mr. Blair nodding him and Mr. Newman. They're not going to like what I'm going to say next. There's always room for improvement. They are at 1%, I want them to be at 0. And that is why we pay so much money to have this app, so that we will encourage better driving, so that nobody can accuse them of being the cause of any accident. I want my bus and taxi operators, drivers, to be the best in the world. So, Mr. Newman, don't believe we're not going back to enforce the uniforms. We're going to, because when I meet with the associations, Peter, they tell me that the Transport Authority is not enforcing. Come January morning, we're going to be enforcing. Nobody will have any excuse. We have an app for you. This government has supported the industry. And I can go on any mountain and shout it. During the pandemic, we have offered 100% discount. In other words, the contract carriage operators never had to pay $1 last year in renewal fee, because we understood that with the downturn in the tourism industry, they had licensed their buses and weren't able to carry anybody. So the government paid it for them. And in the route taxi, Mr. Boyne, your association, the government offered a 33% discount on license to help to carry this industry. So nobody nowhere cannot say that this government has not supported the PPV industry. We even give you a raise in the midst of the pandemic. People forget that. And by the way, Mr. Newman and Mr. Blair and Mr. Boyne, I have been told by Ms. Petra and Mr. Hilton that it is the first time in a long time, JC, there has been a raise in bus and taxi fares. And the drivers don't demonstrate, and the public don't demonstrate. Don't you think this minister deserves a clap for that? Because, you know, Peter, incidentally, the first time I knew that the Ministry of Transport was here, I was apart with JC in a march from Halfway Tree out at the ministry. Remember that day, JC? That is when I knew our ministry was here, and God knew I never knew I would be here. And nobody marched against this minister yet. Apart, well, Mr. Newman tried a little thing, but it never worked. But we have worked with the industry. We have consulted with the industry. We have listened to the industry. And we have balanced the demands of the industry with the demands of the traveling public. The Transport Authority, ladies and gentlemen, because I believe in technology and innovation, was the first government entity to have to offer all their services online. Long before the pandemic, we were ready. So when the pandemic hit, we were ready. And one of the toughest jobs we have had, Brother Thoms, is to get people in the industry to go online and access the services. And we even had to charge people $10,000 if you turn up to a Transport Authority office without an appointment. And that was what forced people to do a lot of their transactions online. We have been so successful, and I must praise eGov. We have been so successful that today we have seen the highest number of applications and processed road license. Our target was 80,000 for the year. We are at 82,000. So we have exceeded our target. And therefore, we see that innovation and technology will help. We are now pushing these two apps, the TravelPal and the training app, the PPV training app. And we are hopeful that at the end of the day, we will have better drivers. Because, as I mentioned, Gordon, did you know that the day in the week that you have most accidents is on a Friday, followed by a Saturday, followed by a Sunday? The weekend. And then that is followed by a Wednesday. So, what I've also found in the research is that 88% of the 473 persons who have died on our roads are males. And they are males within a specific age group. Between 20 and 29 is the vast majority of young men who are dying on our roads. Road accidents are slowly depriving young ladies of potential husbands. People, when they are just about to get into the working world and to develop, they are dying on our roads. It's not a good sign for the country. And speed is the number one reason for the crashes. And Independence Day is the public holiday that accounts for most accidents and fatalities on our roads. We have 2 days left in the year. We have already exceeded last year's December target. It is my wish and hope that we have no more fatalities for the rest of the year. But come next year, early in January, we will be laying the new Road Traffic Act regulations, and we'll be laying the amendments to the Transport Authority Act. 2 bits of legislation that the country has been waiting for a long while. And I want to publicly apologize that we had committed to laying them by the 14th of December, but our technocrats were not ready, and we had to take the criticism, but I'm told that they are there now. And early in the new year, as soon as Parliament reconvenes, we will be able to lay those 2 important pieces of legislation to help to treat with the question of road safety, because we are going to use technology. We're going to use groundbreaking technology and innovation in treating with this pandemic that has been with us. We cannot afford to be losing 473 of our fellow countrymen and women to road accidents during the most productive time of their lives. Where next year, 2022, is the year that road safety will be front and center for this ministry, because we have to treat with that pandemic. I urge everybody here to use the browser, because this is not in the App Store or the Play Store. to download from your browser. We're going to be passing it to the association so that they can pass it to their members. The JUTC has already agreed to use it in their training program for their drivers. We are going to be encouraging the driving schools to also download and use it, because whatever we can do to save at least one life, we have to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is like a parent at birth or at graduation of their child to see the launch of this app. Since 2018, we had committed and promised it. And today, like a proud father, I am saying, well done to the team. Thank you, and Jamaica appreciates it.
Thank you, Minister Montague. At this time, you've heard a lot about the app. Now it's time to get a demo of the app. We invite Gordon Swaby from Edufocal to take us through that.
Thank you, Minister. So, one of the things that the Minister mentioned was we met with him and we demoed the application, and he flat out told us that, look, you have to go back to the drawing board. Now, the other point that, or one of the other points that the Minister made was the fact that the Ministry and BCIC could have gone with any vendor, but they chose a Jamaican company, and we're very, very grateful for that. In fact, almost 50 team members strong, we have members of our staff that take public passenger vehicles on a daily basis. We have team members that drive on the Jamaican roads. So we are well incentivized as a team to ensure that what we're developing is quality but also culturally relevant. Now, this application would not be possible without the hard-working team members at Edufocal, at the Transport Authority, and BCIC, of course, were key partners in giving us feedback. So I really want to acknowledge all of those stakeholders. I mean, we have Chelsea with us, Chelsea Taylor from Edufocal, and we have Brian Stewart. We really want to give, tell them thank you. We have members from BCIC, Dave, I don't say lower. Really, thank you, everybody. This has been a lot of work, but this is truly just the beginning of what is to come. Brian? Now, the application is currently a web application. It will be accessible at tappvtrain.com. Come January 10, 2022, we'll be onboarding thousands of drivers on the application. And before the end of March 2022, we will have native applications on both Android and iOS. Now, when a driver goes to ppvtrain.com, entering the application is very easy. All you need to put in is your TRN number or your receipt number for your badge purchase, and you'll be able to access the application. Now, it was important that we made the app culturally relevant. I mentioned earlier that I mentioned earlier that we are partnering with a number of organizations. I won't call any names now, but let's admit, Jamaicans love prizes. We love gifts, right? Now, what this application will allow us to do, will allow the Transport Authority to do, is to track the performance of drivers on the application on a second-by-second, minute-by-minute basis. Any driver, thousands of drivers, they'll be able to know how that driver is performing. Now, the question you may ask is, why is that important? Now, if you're a good driver and you're using the app and you're diligently practicing for your badge exam, maybe you should win a gift. Maybe you should win a reward. When you were in school and you did well on the exam, you got a gold star. Not sure if that is still happening now. But we believe that if our drivers are using the application diligently and they're performing well, we want to incentivize them. Don't want to speak on behalf of the managing director of BCIC, but who knows? Maybe BCIC may offer premium discounts. Maybe a tire company will offer discount on tires. Maybe you will win free phone credit. Maybe you even win a house. I'm kidding about the house part. But the important thing is, we want to really again push Jamaica in the right direction. we're launching with a number of courses: defensive driving, can't see right here, maintaining professionalism, delivering quality customer care, and a number of other courses. Move on. So this is just a video demo of the application from the browser. So you can just watch it and I will speak while it is going. So it's a mixture of sound, video, games, right? In this particular course, for example, there is a spin game where you spin a wheel and it asks you random questions about what you've been learning throughout the course. Of course, each driver will have their own profile, so data is being collected on each driver. And where we'll eventually get to is that we'll be able to quickly identify the deficits of the respective driver and offer additional support to the driver. Of course, this is accessible from any internet-enabled device, and it is going to be zero rated on both the flow and digital network. What I mean by that is all you need is a smartphone. You don't need to have an active plan. You just need to have the phone and you can access it at no cost to you, right? So there will be no charges in terms of you won't need to have an active data plan, and you don't need, and if you do have an active data plan, it will not go against your data. So that is very, very important. That was a big part of it. The Edufocal team consulted with the respective taxi associations. That was an important part of it. And the main reason that the development process took so long was not necessarily the development of the app itself, but more so the content. It is taking the content that is there and refining it in a way that is culturally relevant and that the drivers can understand, right? So it is something where if you're going through a particular course and, you have to leave your house or you have to do something else, you can pause it, and when you go back to it, you'll be resuming from where you left off. Or, if you want to refresh your memory, you can start over. I mentioned earlier that this is a spin game. This is a particular spin game that I enjoyed. I got some of the questions wrong, but I'm also still learning, right? And again, you'll also be able to win points as a driver, points that you can use for different things or you'll be able to use for different things. You'll be winning virtual badges, and who knows, eventually, maybe we might partner with other entities to provide certification. But again, this is a 5-year tripartite agreement between Edufocal and BCIC and the Transport Authority that I'm sure will be renewed. But this is a long-term partnership that we are invested in improving. This is not a one-off thing that we're done developing the course. Course development will be ongoing, and we will be collaborating with the Transport Authority and BCIC and other stakeholders to improve the courses, have new course offerings, but ultimately the aim is for drivers to get a good understanding, a good grasp of how to conduct themselves on Jamaican roads and to have the requisite knowledge to improve their own lives and their education. Next. So I had mentioned some of the features before. I mentioned that accessible from any internet-enabled device, no phone credit needed. It is currently zero rated on the digital network, and we're about to finalize that zero rating with Flow. Interactive courses covering the entire curriculum requirements for the badge exam. Of course, we're also partnering with with the Transport Authority to administer the exam itself. And, of course, performance tracking and much more features will be coming soon. So, again, this is something that we're very excited about. 2020 will be a big year for the ministry, for the Transport Authority, and for the entire PPV industry in general. We're excited about this partnership, and we're looking forward to rolling it out. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Gordon, for sharing with us some of the features of the training application. And one of the features that we're particularly proud about is that when the exam is completed, we'll get the results instantaneously. So the operators won't have to wait any months or weeks to get their results. And of course, the Transport Authority will issue certificates to those who have completed the course. And of course, you get to practice on your own in the comfort of your home, understand the taxi stand. So it's very accessible to the users of the training. Yeah, don't use it while driving. Good point, Gordon. At this time, we want to invite Mr. Raymond Bynes, President of the All Ireland Route Taxi Association, to move the vote of thanks.
Petra Keane Williams, General Manager, Human Resource Management and Administration for the Transport License Authority. We want to thank Bishop Flavia Alves of the Universal Church for that prayer. Mr. Michael Bairu, General Manager, Finance and Planning of the Transport License Authority. Mr. Gordon Swaby, Co-founder and Chief Executive Officer of Edufocal. Mr. Peter Levy, Managing Director, the British Caribbean Insurance Company. And the Most Honorable Robert Montague, CDMP, one of the best ministers so far within the transport fraternity. Minister of Transport and Mining, Mr. Montague. I would like to say it's a great honor and privilege to give this vote of thanks in this special event. So I would like to say, give God the glory. First and foremost, I'd like to say to all the distinguished guests invitee present here, the media, the Transport License Authority team, and last but not least, I thank you, my friends and associates, for your cooperation in making this event a success. Now, I've listened to the minister speak about the 16 point that has been brought across to the transport sector. He has introduced this initiative to the Taxi Association. And it's not only the Route Taxi Association, but also the Acne and Contract Association. So I would like to say thank you very much, Minister. From the 2019, I've been to several of these events with the Minister of Transport, the Honorable Robert Montague, and he has laid out many initiatives for the transport sector, and we want to say thanks very much. The recent one that he has brought to us now, it's the app that is introduced to us right now, and it must be platform on the media. That's the traveling public and all the taxi operators should be educated enough to use this app because it is very vital and it is important to us. Now, I heard Mr. Gordon Swaby speak about the 30% amount of taxi operator that has come to the Transport License Authority to get their badge. And one would say that is it's low, it's below the belt, it's very low, that percentage. So I'm asking the Transport Authority to step up the drive and allow all these taxi operator that is outside there without a badge. And this is a special occasion now, privilege for them with this app that is introduced to us. So I want to say thanks very much to the Transport License Authority, thanks to the Minister of Transport, the Most Honorable Robert Montague, for bringing across all these initiatives to the transport sector. And it's for us to use it at our best advantage to make the transport sector a better place. So before I leave, I would just like to quote a quote from Mr. Marcus Garvey. If you have no confidence in self, you are twice defeated in the race of life. Liberate the mind of men, and ultimately you will liberate the body of men. So, Honorable Minister, I thank you very much for all these new initiatives and those that come before to the transport sector. and we'll try and use it to our best of our ability to make this sector a better business for us all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Bynes. Mr. Bynes is one of the veterans in the public transportation sector, and he's always at these functions. No matter how many functions we keep in Kingston, Mr. Bynes is always present. So we are happy that he was able to join us today. Now, we're going to stand for the National Anthem, and after that, we will have refreshments, which will be served on the outdoors. Can we stand at this time? We're going to sing. After 2, 1, 2. Eternal Father, bless our land. Guide us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil. Lead our life through countless odds. To all leaders, friendly defender, and true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Teach us true respect for all. The response to duty soar. Strengthen us the weak to carry. Give us wisdom lest we perish. Knowledge send us, Heavenly Father, grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Thank you so much. You can join us on the outdoors for refreshments.